And you have to wonder, that could be connected to other issues, right? Like Muhammad said that no one could marry his wives after him. That's revealed in the
Correct.
Quran. And that's when people were saying, hey, don't worry, if you get old and pass away, we'll take care of Aisha and so on. And then he got the revelation, no one can marry one of Muhammad's wives after him. And you have to wonder, is that like to avoid comparison?
Yeah, maybe he was like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. If they do take care of my wives, then what if they find out about the size of my pee? I can't let that happen. I can't
Yeah.
let this happen.
And then all of a sudden Aisha's like, oh, that's what a normal size is like? Abdul? Right before this, they were discussing the rules. Muslim Lantern was requesting that Andrew not call Muhammad a pedophile and things like that. And then Andrew's saying, "What are you talking about?" And Andrew eventually agrees. He's like, "Okay, I mean, I'll try and tone it down, but I mean, if saying something is part of the case I'm making, I'm going to go ahead and say it." So, but there was this discussion, and you know what's weird? It's like they're concerned that the term pedophile has this negative connotation, but guys, what's the negative connotation to it? That you're thinking that you're attracted to a little girl, right? That's, in other words, it's not the word that's the problem. It's what the word means. And you guys are bragging that Muhammad had sex with a little girl. And then what is that? What is that? If a guy in his 50s is sexually attracted to a prepubescent 9-year-old, there's a word for that. It's pedophile. So instead of embracing the concept but rejecting the word, just embrace the word. In other words, start celebrating that your prophet was a pedophile. Yes, he was a pedophile. That's the most beautiful thing. Just stop that. In other words, change your view of the word. Why do you view it as a negative? You say, oh, because everyone else thinks it's so negative. Yeah, because we have a problem with guys banging little girls. That's the problem. But you're bragging about that, so quit objecting to the term.
And then you should make it your mission to change the people's perception about pedophilia. And you should say, yes, our Prophet Muhammad was a pedophile, and we're proud of that because there's nothing wrong with it.
Yep.
And you should have debates on it. This should be the Islamic mission. This would be the right way to handle things, to tackle things. That's what you are supposed to do. Be proud of your prophet.
And that would kind of be a very small next step, right? I mean, if like they're becoming the global champions of having sex of grown men having sex with little girls, and they're all defending this stuff, like just it's one small extra step for Muslim kind to just say, oh yeah, he's a pedophile, and being a pedophile is great in our religion. It's the most best thing ever. Have you watched this, AP?
No.
You haven't seen this?
No.
Oh, this is going to be rough because this gets pretty funny pretty quickly.
I also have a visual demonstration here.
I have a visual demonstration. All right, here we go.
In regards to the idea of child brides and prepubescent sex of children, my opponent has stated, and I'm paraphrasing here, I'm not saying that these are his exact words, sex with a child is okay in a marriage context as long as it doesn't physically or psychologically damage the child. Though he didn't use the specific word child, I'm inserting this word because I think that under the criteria he presented, it would qualify as a child. Though I don't think he owned the position, opting instead to make claims the semantics were incorrect, I'm ready to defend those semantics. A clip here for proof that this is indeed what my opponent has said on this topic, which I'm happy to send over as soon as the opening is done. To give you an overview of the absurdity of this position, Muslim Lantern and God Logic were attempting to argue the position of sex with 9-year-olds. In this case, it's because God Logic had brought up Aisha. I am confident that God Logic considers Muhammad to be pedophilic. I am confident that this is true. I'm not sure what age Muslim Lantern actually believes Aisha to be. However, most scholars I've read in classical sources place her at about 9 years old. It wouldn't really matter, though, if Muslim Lantern does or does not believe Aisha's age. Is this? He does not need to stand by the idea that he believes that. All I need is that he's on record saying that he believes the age of consent itself is just based around puberty, with no real clarification there as to what that means, and we'll dive into that.
Yeah, that's I don't know if Andrew is completely familiar with the Muslim sources because it's basically Muslim Leonard's position. I think he's going to agree that she was 9. He's going to say that people could disagree, but I think he's going to say that he believes she was 9. I think he believes that she was pubescent. So he believes that when Muhammad married her at 6 and consummated at 9, Muslim Leonard seems, or at least he's claiming, he seems to think that Muhammad was waiting for her to go through puberty and so on. So some of that stuff doesn't actually come up. That's where I would have challenged him on, and I would have brought up the Quran and so on. But Andrew's going to go in a completely different direction. right about now.
But let us begin with some visual examples of what this has to mean. A prepubescent vaginal depth, which I'm going to represent here with this socket. It's about 2 inches. Just so you understand. This is the average depth of the vagina in a prepubescent girl and girls in early puberty, which really doesn't stop until you reach the end of puberty, where it ends up being somewhere around 4.5 to 5.5 inches. I have the medical documentation to prove this.
So, Andrew, this is not something I've researched. We might need to examine his studies, saying the vaginal canal of a prepubescent 9-year-old girl is about 2 inches. It's about 2 inches. All right.
The average Arab's penis is about 5.5 inches. I'm going to represent that here. Again, we're just talking about averages. I'm going to put these side by side so that you can understand the distinction here. You see is 5.5 inches. You see this is 2 inches. Okay? To express what this looks like in comparison.
It sucks that the chat, not here, but on Sneako's thing, that's just it's rapidly going through, but people are dying. People are dying watching this. All right. So guys, Andrew's doing the math here. 2 inches for a prepubescent girl's vaginal canal, 5.5 inches for an average Arab man's penis. Do the math there. Let's keep going.
It's very important that you visually understand this. In order for Muhammad, who I think definitionally would be a pedophile, to have done 0 damage to Aisha, which is in conforming with the Muslim lantern conditions of, quote, not hurting the girl. In this case, I would say Muhammad's penis would only be able to be roughly 1.8 inches in order to not actually 1.8 damage this woman. 1.8 inches.
I like how he's totally deadpan the entire time. It's just matter of fact. Wait. Hang on. Let's go back. AP.
Oh, that was a very good delivery, honestly. That was a very good delivery there, man.
Hey, let's go back. I don't know if you can see Sneako. What sucks is Sneako's he's got himself really small, no pun intended, up there. But Sneako's, but watch Sneako's face when Andrew's discussing this stuff. Sneako's done. Look at Sneako. Look at Sneako. Once he sees where he's going, look at Sneako's face. This is Andrew talking about. Once Sneako sees where he's going, look at Sneako trying not to bust out laughing up there. All right. So I went back. But
again, we're just talking about averages.
Everyone focus on Sneako.
I'm going to put these side by side so that you can understand the distinction here. You see is 5.5 inches. You see this is 2 inches. Okay? To express what this looks like in comparison, it's very important that you visually understand this.
Look at Sneako.
In order for Muhammad, who I think definitionally would be a pedophile, to have done...
That's Sneako covering his face to cover up his smile.
He's suppressing his laugh, and that's funny.
When this guy's talking about Muhammad having a sub 2 inch penis.
It's okay, Sneako. It's okay. Just laugh, man. It's okay.
Yeah, and the idea here is, and this isn't Andrew just making something up. He's saying for me to take you guys seriously, that this would do no damage to a prepubescent girl. This wouldn't damage her. Then you have to say that Muhammad had a sub 2 inch penis. That's the only way around it. if you think he was average, then he would have done some serious damage to her. So take your pick. It's a new Islamic dilemma, everyone.
0 damage to Aisha, which is in conforming with the Muslim lantern conditions of, quote, not hurting the girl. In this case, I would say Muhammad's penis would only be able to be roughly 1.8 inches in order to not actually 1.8 damage this woman. 1.8 inches.
Oh, man.
Now, the reason for that is because we have the medical documentation of what is vaginal tearing and what vaginal tearing would be inside the wife. If he was anywhere even close to the average, this would cause severe damage. So we either have to conclude the damage threshold that ML is talking about here is much different than how ML presents it, or that Muhammad had a way smaller than average penis. I'm willing to accept either correction.
Take your pick, Muslim Lander. What sucks is, if I recall, Muslim Lander never answers this. But it's simple. Take your pick. If you're saying Muhammad did not damage Aisha when he had sex with her, what are you saying? The only way that works, the only way the math works, is if Muhammad had a sub 2-inch penis. If you're saying he was just even average, it would have done damage to a girl with a 2-inch vaginal canal. All right.
Further demonstrate the truth of this claim, you can find more info on this in the growth of the birth canal in adolescent girls. This is done by Marquisa Lavelle. She's a PhD. She goes further into why pregnancy at a young age is generally damaging to a woman, but it's also demonstrating the physiology in the difference of canals and the difference in penis length, the difference in vaginal length when it comes to people engaging with child brides. She goes into various problems of the pelvis during childbirth for prepubescent girls. And here, if you'll humor me, I'm going to give you some highlights. Again, trying to keep this somewhat brief. The size of the birth canal is smaller in the first 3 years, even past the first age of the period, than at age 18 years old. That's why we have a standard for this, by the way. People pretend it's arbitrary. It's not arbitrary. We have standards for a reason. If you even go...
Guys, did you catch that? Because that was actually an important response there. So he's talking about, as far as the length of a woman's vaginal canal, he said that when it is finally grown to normal like adult size is around 18. And so he says, when we're talking about 18, so this would be in addition to all of the issues that someone like Inspiring Philosophy would bring up, the research he would bring up, that this is something else. This is something that is in addition to that. And so Sneako is always pushing the issue. Why 18? Why 18? And I'll agree, there's some wiggle room in terms of there's not like, oh, on this side of the line, you're a girl, a young girl, and this side of the line, you're an adult woman, because girls do develop at different rates and so on. It's when you're looking at the data on averages, things tend to be significantly better around the age of 18. So that's actually a response. That's actually a response to stuff that Sneako points out pretty frequently.